Okay, for the why we have this discussion and the talk is because we do something here, and the purpose of doing that is something to achieve something, to gain something that we have not achieved using our senses, ears, etc. Right? So we don't know where we are going. Right? So we should support our practice with what is happening. Right? So to support that, only we have this talk and the discussion. And what it does is, you may be able to gain new knowledge of the practice, or you may be able to confirm certain things that happens to you. Okay, it is in accordance with the practice, because some of the things that are happening are to the ordinary person may not be acceptable, or you may have different viewpoint about it. So, and on the other hand, you may have questions, right? So to clear those doubts also, these talks and discussions will be important. And also to clear your viewpoints, because most of us are coming from different backgrounds. So when you are brought up, there are certain things that have been embedded in your system, right? So how that affect with the practice. So we call it clearing those viewpoints. And if none of these are happening, most of the time, by listening to a talk, there is a huge upliftment, huge happiness that is generated. So those are the advantages of having this talk and the discussion, right? So the first thing I want to bring to your attention is, when we practice, our practice should have three basic qualities, right? What Buddha has said is, I'm quoting him because those are not mine, right? Three basic qualities we should have in the practice. The three basic qualities are, the first one is the energy. We call it ardent energy, right? And the second one is the clear comprehension led by mindfulness, right? And the third one is not having a or discipline yourself in this world of strong craving and the strong frictions or strong hatred, right? So in that world, that is the world. In that world, you discipline yourself. So if you read the discourse on mindfulness, which is available in the canon, you may find these things, but you will have only the literal meaning of it, right? You will not understand the deep meaning of it based on the practice. So if I take the first one, which I mentioned as ardent energy, when you have ardent energy, when you have strong determination to do things, it is mainly providing you four functions, four things, right? And what that ardent energy does is, it will avoid arising of unarisen defilements. Right? The defilement means the negativities that we have in our mind. Right? So if you have ardent energy, those unarisen ones will not arise. Let me give you an example. When you practice, right, usually there are billions of thoughts relating to your past experiences, future expectations, satisfaction of your sense faculties. There are so many thoughts that are coming. When we sit for 45 minutes, we may be actually observing the breath or the walking, maybe 30 seconds, all other time disturbances. So these are the defilements, right? So when you have these defilements, if you can have your attention on the breath or on your walking for that 30 seconds, you have avoided unarisen defilements to come. Your attention has completely been taken by the object. So the no mental negativities are affected. So more you do it, more you practice, the time span increases. More the time span increases, far away the defilements that come to your system. So that is how unarisen defilements will not or will be kept at bay. Although we have that firewall or the Great Wall of China, which is called mindfulness, having protecting us, there will have guys sneaking through. Like, although we have New South Wales border closed, we must have a pass to come in, but there are clever guys. They just somehow or other peep in and come inside. And when we have a virus going on, only we know, oh, this guy has brought it from New South Wales, right? So there will have, although we have these barriers, certain defilements may take over, right? You were observing the object for 30 seconds, and you were able to keep these defilements away, and all of a sudden you find you are in a huge train of thoughts. That is, now the defilement has arisen. Negativity is going on. So now what you do, when you have ardent energy, you don't fight with the defilement. Right? Mindfulness is just awareness. So defilement has come, without declaring war against the defilement, you try to observe the breath or observe the walking if you are walking, right? If you can't do that, then what you do is, because the thought process is so overwhelming, then you observe the thought itself, right? I can't take my attention to the breath. I can't take my attention to the walking. So it's thought is me now, or the pain is me now, or the sound is me now. So I accept that, right? So it came to disturb you. It came to upset you. Instead, you give a memorandum of understanding with it and live in harmony with the disturbance. So the disturbance, objective of the disturbance is not achieved. It is coming to confuse your mind. You don't confuse, instead, you accept it and give it a tea and live in harmony. Right? So those are the unarisen defilements that are arisen, are controlled. Right? And doing this is a skill. That is a skill, because all the time what we do is doing things, putting things here and there, and try to react, try to adjust. Now we learn the art of not reacting or not adjusting. So therefore it's a skill, right? So that comes because of your energy. Unarisen skill is arising now. Unborn skill is developing now, right? Because of your ardent energy, right? And the other thing that happens is, when you keep on doing the practice, it gets established in your system. It generates a new faculty, right? That faculty is not to eat or drink or listen or hear or taste or have a comfortable comfort or having beautiful thoughts. That's a spiritual faculty. Your awareness increases, right? Because that becomes your practice. So these four things, or the four functions, will be provided by this ardent energy. And the ardent energy means, if you have set time, you are setting a time to practice at home, right? On a daily basis, you practice, okay, I'm doing every day half an hour walking, half an hour sitting. That is ardent energy. And that only provides all these things. Or every fortnight we have a session and we go to that. And whenever there is a question, you get that clear. So that dedication is the ardent energy, and that dedication is providing all these four advantages, or the functions rather, of ardent energy. And the other quality that you should have in your practice is the clear comprehension led by mindfulness. Right? Does it make any sense? No. When I first read it, I never understood what the heck it is. Right? Because they're just words. Clear comprehension led by mindfulness means, if I take the same example of disturbances coming into your practice, right? Irrespective of how long you have practiced, irrespective of how good you are in your practice, these disturbances will never go away, right? That is something that is happening naturally, right? So now you start seeing things as things that you cannot have a control all the time. Right? We think when we do things, I can change this, I can do this and all that. But ultimately what happens is you change your attitude towards all these disturbances, towards holding on to the object. You let go of things. You learn the art of letting go. How you do that is by letting things happen the way it happens without getting involved in it. Right? So that way, to do that, what we do is, as I said earlier, if the breath is there, if the walking is there, you observe that. If it is not there, if the sound is there, you observe that. So the object has changed. Has your mindfulness? No. Mindfulness is continuing. That continuing mindfulness is giving you a new dimension to look at things. That is clear comprehension. And that evolves even further. Now I'm taking something that I can relate to you. Right? But if you observe the breath itself, you may have already observed that. If you observe the breath, you may see when you keep on observing the breath itself becomes subtler. You can keep on observing the breath, no disturbances. But breath does not stay as it is. It keeps changing. Gross breath becomes shorter, and it becomes even shorter, and it becomes subtler, and it becomes even subtler. Sometimes it may not be there as well. So your object is also changing, and you observe the changing object. So things change, you start accepting. So that's a new dimension to look at things. Really, what is okay, this is black, this cannot change. This is white, this cannot change. This is solid, this cannot change. That is how we start. But when you observe before your eyes, it changes. And you let it happen. Clear comprehension means seeing things as they are. So this is how you see things as they are. And when you learn this art, it may not apply just to your walking and sitting. Even in general life, you will learn the art of letting go and accepting things as they are, instead of making adjustments. Right? So that's another quality that you may develop, or you should have while practicing, which is clear comprehension led by mindfulness. And the third quality is disciplining in this world which has strong desire and because of the same reason, strong hatred, right? We don't have a lot of hatred towards outside. We hate ourselves. If this type of a talk is not there, if there is no opportunity for a discussion, right? What we, of course, I have been suffering from that for about 5 years because there was no teacher for me to get those things clear. I was always fighting with me to hold the object, right? I didn't want any disturbance to happen. I just want always to keep observing the breath or keep observing the walking, which means I'm not disciplining myself. I have a strong desire now, not to see things or hear things or eat things or taste things or have tactile sensations or anything, but I have a strong desire towards the object. No discipline. I don't accept the fact that it changes, right? So, as I said earlier in the other two qualities, if you can accept that, it disciplines you, right? It disciplines you in this world which is full of strong desire and hatred, right? So those are the three qualities that you should have when you practice mindfulness. So I would like to sum up the talk without boring you any further, and open up for discussions if you have anything to discuss about what I said or about your practice. And if you have anything to say, Chatu will have the mic, so you can talk to the mic. Tulmin, it is open for you as well.
Where do I go? Yeah. Meditation is nothingness, because there's nothing. There's nothing here. This is all nothing. And that's the way I look at it. Meditation for me takes me nowhere. It's not internal, it's not external, it's just happens. And that's what I feel.
That's what you feel.
Or should I not feel anything?
Is it, how do you get there?
How do I get there?
Yeah. How do you go to this nothing?
That's when I sit.
Yeah. If I rebut that saying, you are conditioning yourself.
Okay.
Then you have any other.
I don't understand, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with the.
I agree with the fact that there is something called nothingness, and we can get there, although that is not the final aim. We can get there, but to get there, we have a path, right? And that path is, we will have to start where we are. At the moment, do we have anything? At the moment, we do. At the moment, there are so many things we have. At least if you take ourselves, we have our body. If we don't feel our body, at least we can feel the respiration, right? And there are other layers that we can go into. So we feel something. So if you go to nothingness, you should be able to mention, if you follow the path, you should be able to mention the milestones. This is where I started, and this is how the bus took me. These are the places I passed. Now this is what is happening to me. Right? Now the question is, what are those milestones? We don't tell. The reason is, our mind is so clever in conditioning ourselves. So that is why when we have something called the ultimate bliss or ultimate achievement, which we call Nibbana or Nirvana, he has never defined that. If you define that, what happens is, we condition ourselves. If you say what is happening in, let alone Nibbana, there are 4 stages to Nibbana, and in any of those 4 stages, he has very grossly mentioned these are the things that happen, but not the actual physical experience. Right? Because if you say the actual physical experience, you can close your eyes and condition yourself to get there. There have been people like that during Buddha's time. Right? So therefore, agree. There is something called nothingness, but there are 2 other stages after nothingness. Not 2 others. Yeah, 2 other stages after nothingness. We will have to follow the path and tell this is how I get to nothing. Right? So if I explain a bit more further, in physics, we have matter, right? So we will have to go through matter, right? Then only we will be able to see the basic elements of matter. Right? Buddha has identified 4 basic elements of matter, which is earth element, air element, fire element, and the water element, right? And he goes even further and says, after these elements, you go to a stage where still matter is there, but you can't exactly say whether it is that element or this element. And that is the point in which you go beyond matter and come to mentality. Right? So when we say nothingness, are we talking about the nothingness of matter, or are we talking about the nothingness of mentality? Or are we talking of the both? Anything is possible. But where you are will be decided only by listening to where you started and how you moved. So this is why we take something gross and ask you to observe. When you observe, then you will be talking about physics. We don't give a Nobel Prize, but we go beyond the Nobel Prize achievement. So therefore, it's not conditioning, it's following a path and then telling where you go. Right? Otherwise, before Buddha, there were people who have achieved those stages, right? And what they have to do is, they will have to stay under certain conditions to maintain that nothingness, right? If they deviate from those conditions, say for example, they can't go away from seclusion, go to the normal life and live a normal life, because the conditions change, then the nothingness go for a 6th, right? They will not be able to maintain nothingness. But Buddha is teaching a nothingness where you can maintain yourself even in hundreds and thousands of people. You can get to nothingness. But that is bringing nothingness to your inner self rather than having physical seclusion. So for that, we'll have to go through matter, we'll have to go through mentality, and then come back and have an equilibrium between these two to live in the society. So this is why it's an art of living. So the challenge is to you, tell me how you get there. If you keep on practicing, you will definitely observe that. I mean, it's not a difficult thing. Yeah, it's not a difficult thing, and also it is not an easy thing as well.
You shouldn't achieve anything. There shouldn't be anything to achieve. Even nothingness on the achieve. Yeah. How I see it is that there's nothing to be achieved.
We don't target it.
No.
We don't.
Because as soon as you start to put expectations on yourself, then you start thinking, oh my God, I'm not doing the right thing. Am I sitting correctly? Am I doing this? And as soon as you do that, it goes. So you can't push yourself in anything. You know, you do a little bit, that's enough. You do that, that's enough. We don't push ourselves. And that's what we do in the Western society. We push and push and push. Got to do this, got to do that, be on time. And that's how we're told.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We don't try to achieve anything, but we accept what we have. And when we start accepting what we have, before our eyes we can see, even that keeps fading away. That's a sign of reaching achievement. Reaching nothingness. It's a sign of reaching nothingness. So that's the path. That's the beginning of the path.
But you don't have to start.
Yeah, start is that.
You have to start somewhere.
Yes.
And then the rest comes.
Exactly.
It's like a river.
Yeah.
You know, it just keeps going and going.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anything that you want to talk about the practice? Or shall you say anything? Yeah. Were you able to sit 45 minutes or did you have to change the posture?
No, I didn't. Not too much. I think for me, it's more just focusing on the breath. I lost it a couple of times and then coming back. But yeah, I think I kept it there for maybe about 15 minutes or so, and then I sort of started to figure it out.
During those 15 minutes, what did you observe?
I think for me, I made a constant effort, and I think going to your point, I almost fabricated, in the sense that I wanted to keep a constant breath, but that's not reality. You're sort of making that happen because you're saying, okay, this is how I'm going to breathe. I'm going to take a deep breath and exhale. And so you can focus on the breath quite easily when it's like that. But when you're in an environment where the breath isn't constant like that, it's irregular or whatever it is, then you lose focus because you're not able to clearly look at it. But, so that's a point that you made that I was like, oh, okay.
You made it yours.
Yeah. That should not be the case.
When your breath disappears, there is a tendency that mindfulness also will take a backseat. So you'll have to be alert that when the object is fading away, our awareness has to increase. It has to go up. So when that happens, it's like the bell going. The first time when it goes, it's loud. And then if you keep listening, it gradually fades away. And there is a point after which you don't hear the bell. But still you can keep listening. Although the noise is not there, you can keep listening. Right? So like that, when the breath disappears, you keep your awareness. Disappears means That is where nothing is. But that is matter only. Right? Okay. Any other questions? If not, we're fine. Yes, Tulmini, you can go ahead.
Yeah, naturally my mind goes to the body, and my head is like a workshop. There are a lot of electric circuits, and anyway, it's fine. I just observe as it is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And last week I mentioned that I have less sleep and all. Now it has turned the other way around. I can sleep at any time and I feel very sleepy.
Right.
Could this happen?
It is possible because that is the only thing that mind is good at. It is giving you positives and negatives to see whether it can shake you. And we can use that to test our strength. Yeah, so it's sometimes it goes to more sleepy means it is trying to, you are hitting another layer of ignorance. And when you hit another layer of ignorance, what happens is you become more and more lethargic. But that happens because you have been so alert and so vigilant and so awake, you could not even sleep because your mind is completely with the body and you have started observing all these minute particles playing in the body. And as a result, it conserves your energy and there is no need to rest, sleep, and have rest. It was naturally there. So that's why you could not sleep. But now that has reached the next layer of next layer of ignorance, and it makes you more sleepy. So that's a challenge for you to be more aware to this lethargic situation.
Okay.
Is it happening only while practicing, or is it happening
throughout the day? Like
throughout the day? Yeah. Keep your attention as much as possible to the body, so that it will be heated up a little bit.
While driving also it happens. Anyway, my iron levels are good, I know for sure. Yeah. And even like I walk along a river bank, and anyway, next to that is a highway. Even with the vehicles, still I feel sleepy.
Right.
Hearing the vehicle sounds.
Yeah. So if there is nothing wrong physically, then keeping your attention more and more into the body will be a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Bhante. Therun Sarnai.
Right. Yeah. Just give me a second. Yeah.
So I went on this 3-day retreat, and I guess prior to that, I had a little task. So the task is, so there was what I consider 2 events happening in the practice, in both the walking and sitting. There's the space and there's a merge to the space. I consider 2 events. And my task was to see like the beginning and the end, because I don't know exactly what happens with those 2 scenarios. So because on the retreat, I had, let's say, continuity of practice. What I found was there was definitely a lot of the space happening, but I have some doubts whether the merge is a different event. It could be the same event. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of weird things that happened, experiences. A lot of them I can't actually explain to someone, like they happened, but there's no words to tell someone, this is exactly what happened. Like, to give some examples, like there was a lot of times like I felt that I was going through things, but I don't know how to explain it. There was like another time where I felt my body was like a really jagged shape, and I was safe inside, and that jagged outline was the pain, and I was safe from it inside. There was a lot of like immaterial happiness as well. And I would have considered all of those sort of things aspects of the merge if I was, let's say, doing day-to-day practice. But I guess my idea is that I think it's all part of the space. So I guess that's my question, but I'm not really sure exactly what's going on. So my question is, I don't think the merge is different to the space. Like, I consider it as a separate thing happening. I think it's the same as it's like part of the space. Yes.
All right. The question is whether merge is part of the space. We should not come to any conclusion since we are not sure yet, right? It's still the observing stage. One possibility may be when we observe, this is just a possibility only, but it could be anything else. When we observe things, we observe with a distance, right? We observe, the observed object is there and the observer is here, right? But when you keep on observing, after some time, the object, the observer, and the observed become the same thing because we are observing ourselves, right? So then you may feel you are merging, right? So that is just a possibility only. Since you are talking about the space, it could be something else, right? Especially given the fact that you are saying there are things that you cannot explain. So the first thing that you will have to do is let those things happen over and over again. Don't be in a hurry. Don't try to find solutions to those things because they will take their own time. Only thing what we can do is provide conditions to things to come up, and providing conditions means maintaining timetable and practicing as much as possible. When you do that, these things will happen over and again, over and over again. When they happen over and over again, you may find a way of telling these things. I agree with you that those are not taught at home, those are not taught in the school, those are not taught in the universities, those are not in the books. You find it very difficult to explain. But when you do it more and more, it becomes, you start understanding it and you will be able to give some examples, give some similes to explain what is happening. So until it comes to that stage, you need to keep on practicing and then tell exactly what those things are. Then we will be able to talk a bit more further, not with any conclusion inside, but it is good that you are observing this merger. Let anything happen. Let that take you anywhere it takes you. You maintain your vigilance. When this merger happens, what happens is it's like those energies that works around, right? Those energies will merge, right? The mental energies will merge. When the mental energies merge, it may create a wider energy layer, or it may create a collision. Right now, in your case, it's not a collision, they merge, right? So let those things happen and see what it brings you. Because when such an energy layer, such a merge is happening, there is something that is creating this energy in the middle. There is something that keeps you rotating, right? And when you merge into this, you may be sucked in there. And when you get sucked in, you will have to be very vigilant to observe what's happening. Right? So this is how I can put into words. But when you practice, it's a completely ball game probably. Right? So whatever happens, let it happen. Just observe. Just be as observant as possible. And as Dulmini said earlier, when those things happen, maybe you may feel extremely sleepy. You may not know what is happening, and you will completely go blank. Doesn't matter. Just be aware of that. That's another step, right? So don't rush. Things are going well. Keep observing. Final answer for everything is keep observing. Right. Okay. So if there are no other discussion points, we can conclude. Is it okay? Yes, thank you. Yeah, good. In chanting, what we do is we worship the Blessed One 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato means we worship him 3 times. And then we say Buddhan Saranam Gacchami, Dhamman Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, and Dutiyampi and Tatiyampi. Buddhan Saranam Gacchami means we take refuge in the Buddha. We take refuge in his teaching. We take refuge in the lineage, right? The community of monks from Buddha and downwards, right? And then we do it for the 2nd time. We do it for the 3rd time. So that's the first part. And the second part we said Panatipata, etc., which means we observe 5%. We observed harming other beings. Sorry, we refrain from harming other beings. I'm obsessed with observing. So always I'm using the word observe. You refrain from harming other beings. You refrain from taking what is not given. You refrain from engaging in sexual misconduct. You refrain from lying. You refrain from taking intoxications. So we observe those 5%. So we usually observe, and we observe more than that. That's part of the chanting. And we just refresh that, right? And then after that, we both together recited quality of the Buddha. There are 9 qualities. Qualities of teaching, and the qualities of the community of monks. Yeah, and then we seek pardon if we have done any mistake or wrongdoing, either mentally or verbally or physically, to any of these 3. We call them triple gem, which is Buddha and the teaching and the community of monks. Yeah, we seek forgiveness. There is no one to give, but we seek forgiveness for that. Yeah. That's what that's the meaning of the chanting. And so far as the qualities of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha is concerned, it's completely a different 3 or 4 talks to talk about the qualities. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much for reminding that. Is it okay if we conclude here? Right. So please let myself, Chatu, and Tulmini, we will once again. This is by doing this we have generated lot of positive energies. These positive energies we traditionally chant a stanza, sharing that with the rest of the world, wishing the world well. Right. So please let us do that. Shall we chant stanza Ettavatacha?